Good day, I'm Sharms Espina, and this is PTV News Now. The project developer of the controversial Captain's Peak Resort carved portions of the Chocolate Hills. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources said. DENR Secretary Maria Antonia Yuloloysaga herself visited the resort amidst the investigation. The secretary said the resort owner/management obviously committed violations. In September 2023, the DENR ordered the temporary closure of the resort. And in January 2024, the agency issued a notice of violation to the project proponent for operating sans an environmental clearance certificate. The resort temporarily closed last March 13. Bohol's Chocolate Hills is a protected area and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. There is a growing risk of conflict over water as climate change takes hold, said the United Nations, which marks World Water Day on Friday. Meanwhile, aid agency Oxfam accuses global corporations of grabbing water from poorer countries to boost profits. VOA's Henry Ridgewell has this story.
In Johannesburg, South Africa, the taps are running dry. The city has seen a collapse of its water system, affecting millions of people. In Soweto, on the outskirts of the city, thousands line up to collect water from tankers every day.
It has been a serious challenge, a very challenging time for my age, that I have to be here carrying these 20-litre buckets. And the sad thing is that we don't know when our tap's going to be wet again.
Crumbling infrastructure is partly to blame, but scientists say climate change is causing rivers and reservoirs to dry up in South Africa and many other parts of the world. As the United Nations marks World Water Day on Friday, it's estimated that 2.2 billion people live without safely managed drinking water. UN scientists say roughly half of the world's population is experiencing severe water scarcity for at least part of the year, with poorer nations in the global south or developing countries the most affected. In a new report, the aid agency Oxfam accuses major global corporations of grabbing and polluting vital water resources at the expense of local populations in order to make profits.
Water is overused by northern countries and is depriving southern countries from access to water.
Oxfam accuses richer countries and multinationals of shifting water pressure to poorer regions by extracting water from natural sources for industrial or agricultural use and through the import of water-intensive products like fruit, vegetables, meat, flowers and bottled water. The report says agriculture accounts for 70% of water withdrawals, including through irrigation systems to support the meat industry and biofuels. But Oxfam's analysis suggests the private sector is failing to reduce its impact on water resources.
350 corporations that have been analyzed through that database, which counts for like half of the world agriculture revenue. Only one of the four of them are declaring they are reducing water use and pollution.
The UN is warning this year of the growing risk of conflict over water. It says that as nations manage climate change, mass migration and political unrest, they must put water cooperation at the heart of their plans. Henry Ridgewell, VOA News, London.
A high-tech solution for tackling space clutter. Photography tips from the upcoming solar eclipse. And we remember a spaceflight pioneer. VOA's Arashara Basadi brings us the week in space.
We begin this week with a modern solution to the very modern problem of space junk. As humans launch more satellites and spacecraft from our planet, more chunks and leftover pieces litter the Earth's orbit.
Since the start of the space age in 1957, we've had a throwaway culture in space. We've put lots of objects in space and we've basically not removed them, we've not recycled them or done anything else.
So when companies like SpaceX put rockets into orbit, there tends to be leftover material that stays there, posing a risk to future space missions and hardware. The Natural History Museum in London estimates there are around 34,000 pieces of space junk bigger than 10 centimeters orbiting our planet, and millions of smaller pieces. Enter a robotic gripper by Japanese company Astroscale. Much like the arcade game that stole all my money as a kid, the robotic arm seeks to capture space junk and nudge it toward Earth so that it burns up in the atmosphere instead of just littering the neighborhood. Aerospace company Airbus built the arm. Robotics team lead Eli Aloui tells Reuters it's tricky, to say the least.
To go and grab a client spacecraft, we need to perform a complex space ballet, where we have the servicer approaching and grasping the client. And to do this, we have a range of systems, including the manipulator, that's meant to go and place a gripper in the very tight locations.
Astroscale calls it active debris removal. Officials say it could help stop dangerous overcrowding in space. And if you're not worried because you're not an astronaut, experts consider space junk a threat to the satellites that run your GPS, text messaging, internet, and cell phone service. Yes, it's that serious. Also this week, we remember NASA astronaut Thomas P. Stafford, who commanded a dress rehearsal for the 1969 moon landing. He flew aboard the Apollo 10 mission. Its return trip to Earth set a record for the fastest speed by a crewed vehicle at just shy of 40,000 kilometers per hour. Stafford was one of 12 NASA astronauts who flew to the moon but never touched it. He died at a hospital in Florida at age 93. Finally this week, we've been telling you for some time about an upcoming total solar eclipse over North America. It's coming in April and should last nearly 4.5 minutes, about twice as long as the one that blocked out the sun in 2017. If you're planning to photograph the event, however, treat your camera like you would treat your eyes, as NASA says you need a proper solar filter on the lens. Arash Arabasadi, VOA News.
This has been Sharm Zaspina. Stay informed, get ahead, and catch the news right here on PTV.